evening there, Lorain. How are you guys doing tonight? Hey, Knapp here. Tonight we're going to discuss some stuff, and I put a little bit of a description up on what we're going to go over tonight. I want to welcome you guys to a deeply significant episode tonight, and as always, I'm your host, Aaron Knapp. Now, this isn't just about reporting the news; it's about dissecting the very soul of our city. A city wrestling with stark contrast. Now, we're here to confront the shadows cast by the alleged abuses of power that are standing in stark relief to the light of exemplary service and quiet dignity. We will delve into the accusations leveled at the Lorain Police Department and its leadership, specifically James McCann. We're also going to honor a true pillar of our community, Mr. Kenneth Leroy Gorbey. We're going to unpack the Frank Lee Virtuous editorial piece. And then we're going to share some of my own unsettling encounters with Lorain Police. And crucially, we're going to announce an upcoming event, which we, the citizens of Lorain, can collectively, hopefully, address some of these pressing issues in getting a discussion with some of our candidates. Sorry. I just hit my inhaler a minute ago. But first, we're going to take a moment of reflection. There was a tribute to a man this weekend on Saturday, and he emboldened the values that we should all aspire to. On Saturday, March 8th, amidst the lingering chill of a late winter, our community gathered at the Amherst Vietnam Memorial, or the Lorain County one, really, it's out there in Amherst, to offer a final salute to Kenneth Leroy Gorbey. Nearly 2 months after he had passed, because he passed on January 10th. And there was a solemn ceremony, and they had a moving testament to his enduring impact on the area. We talked about his life story as one of unwavering dedication. So beginning back on September 16th, 1940, and it looks like Berg Holes, Ohio, where he was born, to Mike and Sarah Gorbey. A profound sense of duty called him to serve our nation, and on February 5th of 1957, he enlisted in the United States Navy for 6 years. He was in until February 4th of 63, and he served honorably. We got to imagine the resolve of this guy back in the day, and his fancy, he had beautiful pompadour hair. I saw in the pictures, but, he stepped forward during some really turbulent times to serve our country. Service that obviously runs deep through his family veins. An astonishing 7 of his brothers also served in the military, making one making the ultimate sacrifice. His name is actually etched on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., and the proud legacy of the service resonates through the family even today. He came back to Lorain after his naval service. He channeled his discipline and dedication into building not just a life, but a community. He founded Gorbey & Sons Construction Company. He became a respected carpenter and a businessman, and his craftsmanship extended far beyond his professional life. He was renowned for his boundless generosity. He possessed an innate desire to help anyone in need, especially in the wake of natural disasters. He would travel often at his own expense to devastated areas, rebuilding homes, restoring not just the structures, but also the hope to those who had lost everything. He was, by all accounts, a kind-hearted, selfless, and generous man, and he was always ready to lend a hand. So out at the Veteran Memorial Park, Vietnam Memorial Park, there was an atmosphere that was thick with emotion and a sense of respect and loss. So as the afternoon cast some long shadows, the honor guard stood by for their final salute. They had the crisp, clear, haunting notes of taps that echoed through the park, and a melody that speaks volumes about the sacrifice and remembrance. Then the sharp, resounding crack of the 21-gun salute pierced the air. Powerful and fitting tribute to a man who'd given so much to his community and his country. And it was a symbol of profound, fitting respect and a farewell to a true hero. Now, I'll say it, scared to live in bejesus out of me, as it always does. I know it's coming, but if it's not me doing it, when someone else does it, my immediate response is just... But, they came out, they paid a tribute. I know that I had put out a message to a bunch of people. I tried to get some national support from U.S. Army WTF moments, but it was just such short notice. But someone sent me the post, and I reposted it, and I got some people out there. But it was a nice turnout. The problem, the daughter was there, but there wasn't a lot of other family that could be there because more than likely they'd already come out in January when he had passed. But His legacy of selfless service and integrity stands in stark, painful contrast to the next troubling allegations that have recently surfaced regarding the Lorain Police Department. And so that brings me to the deep unease in our city. There's a powerful editorial that was penned by this Frank Lee guy, and it was titled, he said, Lorain, in the grip of fear, McCann's reign demands an end, especially his bigotry for the soul of our city. I know that this was sent to a few other of the people. I think it was sent to Lorain Daily and Vermilion, but I got a copy of it, and I saw what they had posted from this guy before, and I was interested, so I reposted it. It talks about me in this one. Apologies, but you sent me two others. One was in regards to Vermilion or something, and the other one was on that situation, but it's kind of old news, and I really didn't feel that one was worthy of sharing. So if you're out there watching tonight, Frank, just to let you know, I ran with that one. But the other two were kind of not really in my realm. This is Lorain City, Lorain County. But I appreciate you reading my report and talking about what happened with me. And so he painted a chilling picture of Lorain, not just in fear for external dangers, but in fear of those sworn to protect us. He described a reign of terror as a catastrophic breakdown of ethical leadership originating at the top with McCann. He points to the staggering, that $50,000 legal bill stemming from Mercy Health incident, and basically calls it he said it was a glaring symptom of a much deeper malaise, a weaponization of authority. Respect my authority that demands immediate, decisive action. It says Frank argued that he was like, it was not about just financial missteps, but it was a fundamental erosion of trust. And so basically he's talking about that whole Mercy Health incident. So they settled out of court, and everyone has an agreement now. And again, from the start, that's what I said. I said there should have been an agreement in place. But now that this has been settled, I guess that means we should be able to get copies of these so-called warrants. We should be able to figure out what happened. We should be able to dig deeper into all of that and kind of figure something out. Like, hey, what's going on? All right, let's figure it out. So, but I would have to question, just did Frank Wood here with the $50,000 legal bill stemming from the Mercy Health incident. I don't know. I'd call it a reign of terror per se, but it wasn't a pretty picture. And so in the end, they settled. In the end, I've made posts about this and spoke on this as an SUD counselor and in doing the research on how drugs are ingested and travel through the system, where they come, where they go, how they come out, the process for treating it. Nothing ever came out to date. And so all of this, and again, if the thing with the police force was going to happen because there's some problem with them, then I can understand like you doing it, but you pick a different time, right? Time and place. But his concerns, they resonate with me too. Like it did. Obviously, he really leaned a lot on what I had put out there. I kind of feel a little scooped. But oh yeah, I know, but they had sealed the warrants before. They can't now. The case has been settled. So we'll see. We'll see, Garen, when I ask. I mean, it just cracks me because that's what always happens. Like, he asks, they say no. I ask, and suddenly, we respectfully disagree with you. And then, a week later, it's like, here you go. Trust me, if I'm telling you something, it's probably because I've researched it and I already know the answer. But again, his concerns resonate deeply with my own experiences with LPD. As a lot of you know, because I ramble on about it all the time, I became involved in advocating for the removal of illegally released juvenile records from the internet. Records that I still want to emphasize that belong to somebody else. And then my actions were driven by a simple sense of civic duty with a desire to protect the privacy of a vulnerable young person. What followed, as Frank described it, was actually a relentless and deeply personal vendetta that I became the target of. And You look at the harassment as it began, he said, subtly, then it escalated. The emails that I received through the department were dismissive. They were condescending, often outright hostile. And so Chief McCann, who's infamous for his horrible emails, personally labeled me, and he's done it to others too, calling us and Garen and others unhinged. Give me 1 second. I got to let this dog out. I don't know what he needs. Probably gonna have to go back out there and get her in a second, but and so he's called Garen unhinged. He's called me that. He likes to use that word a lot, and even suggested that we get help at the Nord Center. Which again, come on, guys, like that's not okay. You can't say stuff like that to people. That's mental health. Like, he likes to make a joke out of our mental health. Oh, Chief McCann does, right? Ha ha ha. Yes, James, I have PTSD. But to call me unhinged because I don't like to be touched or I'm a little jumpy sometimes, that's kind of messed up, bro. Especially for another veteran. Like, you have zero respect whatsoever for anyone. And it's kind of disgusting. The whole time I dealt with this, in the beginning when we were bandying back and forth, and I was talking to this guy, it was fine. He wanted to be an a-hole. I'm an a-hole. It's great. But then he turned south and started going after my license, and that was just uncool. So, this isn't just unprofessional. It's deeply inappropriate and intimidating. But the harassment obviously didn't stop at just demanding, the demeaning emails. When the attempts to silence me failed, he went on a maliciously and utterly baseless complaint and filed against my professional licensing board. You guys don't want to see it, but it was calculated. It was a deliberate attempt to damage my reputation and destroy my livelihood. Thankfully, the state social work board saw through his BS, and after reviewing the facts, saw the transparent charade, and then completely cleared my name, exposing what I believe to be a clear abuse of power. And, the note also shined, his little note he wrote shined a light on the disturbing Mercy Health incident. So when we look at McCann and we go, he allegedly, whatever, demanded that medical professionals violate their fundamental oaths to perform a highly questionable cavity search. And when the professionals rightfully refused or prioritized patient safety, they were met with threats and withdrawn from police protection by such that, they took away their police force because they had their own little private police force. Now, I'm not arguing that they should get their private police force back because, I did hear some pretty weird things about that place. But in the grand scheme of things, the timing sucked. You have to admit. Like, if that, and let's just be honest. If you look at James's MO, you look at what he says and does, how he speaks to people, how he's spoken to me, how he's spoken to James, how he's spoken to other people, council people like Dennis Flores, how he's, talked to people within City Hall. I've interviewed numerous people who all say he runs around City Hall yelling, cursing, getting mad at people. And so, you can say what you want, but just remember, my treasurer for my campaign worked in City Hall, guys. And I know other people that work in City Hall. He has no qualms and doesn't even try to hide how bad he is. And that's kind of scary. But hey, you guys want to keep letting it happen. And so we looked at what they did and the way that they went about it, and it did look like intimidation, pure and simple. So, and I would question the value of this, $50,000 for a fruitless search and immense damage as it inflicts upon our reputation here in Lorain. Right? Like, dude, why are we the in the city of Lorain so hung up on obstruction? Again, I'm going to have this conversation for the 1,000th time with anyone in the peanut gallery who's listening. Obstruction is a secondary crime. Now, some would argue it's a physical act. I would say it's not necessarily a physical act, always. But I mean, I guess if you're, because if you are under the arrest at that point, or if you are being questioned in a legal, legitimate, thing, and then you interfere with your voice, then that could be non-physical. But obstruction is a secondary crime. So they had to have had an initial crime. So in this case, they wanted to charge him with, the refusing the order. But that's not okay, because again, they have an ethical quandary. You can't, that would be like telling the doctor, hey, here's a court order to kill this guy. We want you to inject 2 bubbles into his arm. Well, no, that's kind of illegal and it's murder. So we don't do that. So equate that to this. They said, look, we can't do this. This guy, if it bursts inside of him, it'll be toxic and he could die. We're not going to do this. So then they double down. They go back. They get the next warrant. But they come back this time, from what I can see, with a warrant that the doctors had already left. So this time they had it with the names on it. And the doctors had left. And they were like, whatever, later, right? So the doctors bail out. And they show up. They don't actually have a warrant for the right people. And so now, once again, you're at this crossroads where you can make a decision. At any time they could have involved other people. Our prosecuting attorney initially said, again, it wasn't his. He inherited it from August. But he said, they could have communicated with the judge or with anyone. Well, you guys don't make that easy. As a provider myself, like, I didn't have any opportunities to speak to anybody. I don't get opportunities to just randomly address people. So, in fact, when I did randomly address a judge, he got a little pissy. And so, how are we going to relay our concerns about about a search warrant for someone's anus, or a specific order to perform a particular medical, procedure on someone? You don't get to do that. You're not doctors. So I don't know, whatever. But, and then you look back at those. I always go back to these allegations, that Frank brought up too. I don't know how they swept this under the rug, because in other cities, people get fired for this. Like, they're just gone. There's no sensitivity trainings. And so they talked about the allegations of homophobia and discrimination leveled at, McCann. And in that article, he cites the 2 complaints, the one from Kyle Shaver, and another from the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge, number 3 president, Kyle Galinas. Now, I don't think Galinas he wrote in here that it was Fraternal Order of Police Lodge, number 3's president. I don't know that he is anymore. I think that's incorrect. I think Frank's operating off some old knowledge there. But, Galinas still works for the department. And he is a member of the lodge. And the complaints detailed a report where there were instances of homophobic slurs and mockery emanating from the chief himself. So the subsequent investigation's finding, which incredibly characterized McCann's repeated homophobic comments as if they were just loose comments, right? That merely created a discriminatory climate. I agree with Frank that they're woefully inadequate, frankly, kind of insulting. Is repeatedly calling an officer a homo a loose comment. I mean, it just begs the question, and this guy was in his chain of command. These are the officers, right? These are the officers that he claims, even in emails to me, that he is more concerned about protecting these officers and these people than he is about me. And so you end up with this obvious differentiation, or he diverted from his normal path by attacking an officer here, but mainly because that officer is apparently homosexual. So what, right? But when he's calling the dude fairy socks and stuff, I just feel like that's not okay. Beyond the homophobia, Frank also highlighted that the chief reported, they're dismissed very real concern. Reports of the chief missed very real concerns that have been raised by officers of color. Now that's that old school communication style, right? So I've requested everyone's personnel files. I have them all. I have McCann's. I have Middlebrooks. I have former officer Miguel Baez. I have everyone's. Again, I still laugh at that. I mean, God, his transcripts for McCann are just god awful. This guy's got like arguably one of the lowest GPAs I've ever seen someone who is as successful as he is have. Sorry, successful. But I looked through all the files, and when you look at the Middlebrook stuff, I didn't get a lot because they haven't released a lot of the EEOC stuff yet, even though they released the complaint information access codes to me early on in this process. But I did see enough about Middlebrook stuff to say one of his biggest complaints was the way he was spoken to. And James's answer was, I'm just old school. Now, you guys imagine what that sounds like, right? So if he speaks to his own people old school, then he speaks to the citizens old school. But this is an officer of color, a captain in his chain of command. I dare say if we look and see what the complaint was about, it's not going to be pretty. He's not going to have said nice things. I mean, so is it such a hop, skip, and a jump to think that the guy that's willing to call Sergeant Gaylinus, or Sperry Socks, or refer to his homosexual officers as homos, like these are derogatory terms. We don't say these things anymore. Yeah, that's old school for sure. Old school, right? But not everything is old school anymore. You can't be that and be in public office. So you got this plethora of stories going back that lists all the things he's done. Not just the things he's done to me, because I mean, again, I've done some of the research. I know some of the stuff he's done, but other people tell me that I'm insane for even going after him for the other things that he's done. And I'm like, I don't, look, I don't have time to judge people on that side or this side. I only have time to judge him for what he did to me. But, beyond the homophobia, Frank wrote about, McCann being dismissive about those old school communication stuff. And his dismissive attitude, coupled with the undeniable max exodus of these officers from the police department, does, as Frank says, paint a pretty bleak picture. And it feels pretty undeniable that, we're losing experienced officers. And with the morale in this department is currently at an all-time low. You have school resource officer Miguel Baez just done, right? He'd rather retire than stay there. And they can say what they want, but they took him off school resource officer where he'd been forever and a day and put him on night shift. Come on. That's basically a death sentence. Right? That's your career. They just said basically no. So why would he stay? So we lose another experienced officer in Miguel Baez. Imagine if he'd stayed to train the newer generation of law enforcement. In a time when we're begging to get law enforcement officers on our force, he chose to retire rather than work the night shift and be harassed for his calling out of certain things. And that's not what the point of this podcast is about. I've already talked about what he called out. I talked about the fact that, he was really run out because he called out what was going on with Mr. DeMacchia. And the school doesn't deny that. I mean, you've listened to my video with the superintendent. He admits that the school, as well as the police, are the ones that had him removed. So again, why? Now, they'll say, well, it was only meant to be this long. Yeah, but no. They did it because he went after their golden boy. Give me 1 second. No, come on, sweetie. Back in here. I'm in the middle of a podcast. Come on. I don't know why I told you that, but All right, that's right. We're back, folks, from letting the dog in. So where was I? Losing experienced officers. Now we've got this Middlebrooks thing kind of floating around. We have a command structure that's in chaos. Baez is gone. Both Baezes are gone. And so how are we going to solve this problem, folks? When are we going to take a look and go, hey, maybe it starts at the top? But see, that really bears the question of what does he have on everybody? Why are they all so scared? Why is everyone finally coming out? Again, I know it's been suggested that I'm writing these, but in the one that was posted in the Lorain one, like, dude, that guy he's nice to Joel. Do you see me being nice to somebody that I've been harping on? Come on, guys, give me a break. I don't give a crap how long he's been on council. He's a dinosaur. So Frank apparently is at least old enough to give him some respect. I don't know, maybe the two jackasses went to school together. Sorry, I didn't mean that, Frank. Like, you didn't deserve that. But anyway, I digress. So again, the police department's morale's at a rock bottom. You have all of these problems going on. And again, we haven't heard from McCann for a hot minute, right? Like, he's laying low. I don't blame him. I mean, he's under a lot of scrutiny. He had no comment when it comes to the Mercy Health stuff. And again, you guys are continuing to see him just fail. So he's costing us money. I can't afford you, James. You're a detriment to my pocketbook. You're the worst $230,000 investment the taxpayers have ever made. The absolute worst. And you're not even, look at you. There's no way you're in the greatest of health. What's going to happen? You're going to have a heart attack? Dude, hit the gym. And then we got these persistent, unsettling rumors and questions surrounding the financial irregularities and potential corruption, the whispers of the fake payroll records, the backdated contracts, the unauthorized payments that are circulating, creating of a climate of suspicion and distrust. The silence emanating from City Hall on these matters is so deafening it's not even funny. It screams for transparency and accountability. So where's our oversight? Where's the commitment to responsible stewardship of our taxpayer dollars? Where? You guys fight tooth and nail to get every last piece of income from us so you can give yourself freaking pay raises. All while you're screwing around with our money. Now, I can't keep, watching this happen and sit back and go, oh, it's okay. Yeah, we got this. It's cool. No, it's not okay, folks. It's not okay anymore. This is not okay. James is a bully. And quite frankly, my report's still floating around out there. I've still asked the sheriff's department to initiate charges on him. At minimum, I've asked the prosecuting attorney again, now that we have a normal one, to review it for charges. You guys can say what you want, but he committed felonies against me. And I keep saying it. And if I'm wrong and I'm saying he's a cop and he committed crimes against me and I'm lying, then you have to charge me with a crime. I'm not lying. Like, you don't get to do what he did under color of law. And because of it, he can lose his 1983, cover. I was talking to somebody today. I'm not going to say who, but it's somebody with, that I met out and about. I was getting my hair cut, and we were talking about that. And, we brought up some things. One of them was, it's a former Southside resident that may or may not be connected to certain other places. And so we're chatting, and they're like, some of the things got brought up were, well, you're always advocating just for the 6th Ward. And I do try to convince everyone. She said that you guys as the 11 represent the entire city. She's right. We do. That being said, as I explained to her, I only have to answer to the 6th Ward. So sure, I get that my vote counts on everything, but the citizens of the 6th Ward are the ones that are going to vote me in or out. So yeah, I'm going to advocate for their streets harder than anything else because that's my job. Now, that being said, I have helped and worked on helping Nikki run get her campaigning up and running for independent, and I'm going to support her and at large. I support Dennis Flores for at large. You know whose job it is to convince me and the other ward people that we need to get on board something? Council at large. So when people ask me why I didn't want to be council at large, I was like, well, hey, I don't have the pull to pull the votes of all the other wards. So I'd be a worthless council at large right now until after I'd gotten on as a ward person and been able to, get my feet wet, so to speak. Dennis does. Nikki may not have it yet, but she's an unknown. And so I feel like bottom line is if you elected those two and me, I could be convinced by them if they're bringing me logical stuff. But that's their job to convince the four at larges. When we go in executive, are supposed to be convincing the rest of us what we're supposed to be voting on. That involves the whole city. But as the individual wards, we're supposed to be focused on those individual wards. And so, but it just understanding how these things are playing out, understanding the views of things. But what I was talking to her about was, I was like, you realize that technically I still could get a 6 to 7 figure settlement if I really wanted. And she's like, well, you don't really want to do that though, right? And I was like, well, no, maybe at this point, with the amount of disrespect that's been thrown at me by all of these people around here in the government, the amount of disrespect that's just thrown out by our county commissioners to me. I mean, these people serve me. And I got Marty Gallagher, who you could land a plane on his forehead, out there running his yap in these meetings about stuff he wasn't even involved in. And I'm a Republican too, Marty. So, yeah, you wished you could play fast and loose with our taxpayer dollars and fight me for something that was the dumbest thing ever to fight for. Great. So, that's what I said. Like, what if I do want to? What if I do go and just tell Bob, you know what? Fine. Let's just sue him. Let's just get it all. Let's just burn it down and get 7 figures. Me, Bob, and Garen can all just go retire in, Boca. But no, it's not the point. The point of the matter is that he didn't do the right thing. That's what I care about. Because again, my retirement's settled. I'm going to get that pension no matter what, right? Every month, no taxes, no worries. So I'm covered. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't need to be rich. I don't want to be that guy because a lot of money just brings beggars, and then I would have to turn around and put all the money back into the Lorain City streets and fix all the streets. Because what I'm doing here is building generational wealth for my daughter. Yes, I'm going to move to Texas when I retire, where my mom lives now. But that doesn't mean that my daughter's not going to take this land and this home and live here. So yes, I want to fix South Lorain. Yes, I want to make it better for my child. Yes, I want my daughter to be able to ride her bike down the street to the library and not complain when I go to pick her up that she hit a crack and almost fell. I didn't want to know why she was riding in the street. But, whatever. It was down Homewood going towards the library before you got to the main road, I guess. But, I just want these things fixed for my kid, for your kids, for all our kids. Why is that so hard? But then, then we get into those unsettling questions about all that, those contracts, the records, and all that good stuff. And my big issue was I passed on even the stuff that I was given with the payroll irregularities as well. Someone thought enough to mail that to me. And so I just don't get it. I don't get why he's allowed to continue to be and do what he does, and no one even bats an eye. Nobody? Not one of you out there in fairy tale land have woken up and seen that he's the big bad wolf yet? Not one of you, right? Like, my grandma, what big eyes you have. What the hell? Man, dude, like Stevie Wonder is like, man, that man is definitely the wolf. But, before we discuss an important upcoming community event, I do want to pivot to another critical issue that's been affecting our daily lives here in Lorain. Um, and it's a little more tangible than the email allegations, something that we experience every day. And that's, again, the appalling state of our city streets. It is a concern I know many of you share, and one that directly impacts our safety and overall quality of life. Dude, I made another video today driving down streets like Fearless in Tacoma, quite frankly, on, far too many of our streets throughout Lorain, quite, all of them pretty much. But it's become more or less like driving and more like navigating an obstacle course. Potholes are rampant, debris litters the roadways, and general disrepair is just the norm, not the exception. This is not just an inconvenience, guys. Like, it's a serious safety hazard. We're talking about real damage to our vehicles, potential for accidents, and pervasive sense of neglect that just permeates from our neighborhoods, guys. Like, it disgusts me to see all of these rocks on my street. If nothing else, you guys can't come out. Like, if you're going to do half-ass patches and you're not going to pat them down and you're not going to clean them out and you're not going to dry them out and you're not going to do it the right way so that they stick and stay, we know where the potholes are at. It's easier to avoid potholes than it is to avoid all the rocks that get scattered when your patches break, and then you don't come back and pick them up. I mean, for example, the day 19 News came out, I had the video of them out there. They shoveled 2 or 3 shovels, and then they drove away. They left all of that debris on the road. That was our road crew at work. They tried to get out and clean it up before 19 News got there, but it was too late. So instead of staying and finishing the job that they were sent there to do, if they could get it done before the news got there, once the news got there, they were like, F it, right? We're out. So the city left. They left all that debris on the road. But you want me to believe that the city workers are great, right? You're going to tell me that they didn't see that pile? I mean, it looked like a marker pile that's over there on Fearless. They drove right freaking past it. They saw me videoing, they saw the news coming, and they left. That's our city, hiding from 19 News. They didn't come back and clean up the rocks until like the next day. And now they're all back there again. They came out and they patched it within a day. It was broken again. I mean, that's not a good patch. That's not a bad patch. That's just a crap. Like, that's just nothing. It's just a big pile of crap in a hole. And now I'm plagued with more rocks. I wanted to go out on a ride today, but screw that. I'm not going to die. Like, I had to like weave like this all the way down my back road on Tacoma just to get out to go get my hair cut. I was literally driving in the middle of the road. And yeah, I get it. Oh, it's the time of year. No, guys, it's not. Because if that's the case, why doesn't Westlake, Avon, all these other places look like that? Why are all these other towns and cities able to get their roads up to date and get their things done? This has just been a mismanagement of the city streets. That's it. Exactly. You guys sit here and talk about, oh, no, watch out for motorcycles. And you send all these like yellow signs out and no grass in the streets. Screw the grass. What about the gravel? You don't even bother to clean that up from the gutters. So why on God's green earth would I want to go out and ride my motorcycle on your streets? So again, we take our motorcycles outside the area. So we're going to get immediately out of Lorain. So you talk about wanting people to come here for events, but nah, not during the summer. I'm not driving my motorcycle around Lorain. That's insanity. That would literally be suicide to drive around the city of Lorain on motorcycles, in my opinion. So, but hey, you guys do you, boo. When we look at the state of affairs, the city streets division, their mission statement readily available to the public. It literally says it's clear and unequivocal, right? Clear and unequivocal. Their mission statement at the city is to manage and maintain city streets and public right-of-ways and keep them free from hazards. That's pretty simple. So, do you, the citizens of Lorain, believe that they're doing that job? I mean, that's their core job title. Now, if that was your core job title, would you be proud of the job you're doing? would you be happy that city council was congratulating you? You folks look around and tell me, are you happy with that? Or are you pissed? Because I'm freaking pissed. Like literally, you sent me a bill for my stupid taxes because they didn't take out enough. And I didn't, again, I haven't had to file taxes in Lorain before. Yeah, right. And so, same time, wow. And so I'm like, you sent me a bill that was more than my taxes that I owed, but you can't fix my streets. Like, I don't know why we can't put money into an escrow account until they fix our streets. I just don't know. And so it says, I didn't even finish. To manage and maintain the city streets and public right-of-ways and keep them free from hazards. And then their stated purpose is to provide the citizens of Lorain safe roadways by means of snow removal and road repair. To remove and repair any hazard that may exist in the roadways. To make sure that the motorists are free from hazards in public right-of-ways while traveling public streets. End quote. Their responsibilities. Oh, isn't that nice? Their responsibilities are extensive, encompassing everything from pavement markings and roadway repair to snow removal, street sweeping, and even the removal of potentially hazardous trees. They are in no uncertain terms responsible for keeping. Wait. They are, comma, in no uncertain terms, comma, responsible for keeping our streets safe for us, the citizens of Lorain, right? That's their only job. So you get the reality on the ground. You guys see it out there, right? It's a jarring experience of driving on our streets riddled with potholes and debris. Like today, I was singing. I was just showing my voice. You could hear my voice vibrating as we drove. There are certain roads in the United States, if you travel like I have, where you can drive over things and it'll actually play a tune if like a Braille road or whatever. It's kind of funny. That's what I felt like. Like it was going to make, and then I drove and I drove straight. It probably hurt my suspension a little bit, but I drove straight like I was going to hit these potholes. I hit them all so you could see the deflection of my vehicle. And I'm in a giant 4-wheel drive pickup truck that used to be part of the roads department in New York. So if their job is to keep the streets safe for us, the citizens, then they're not doing their job. Period. It doesn't say only on weekdays. It doesn't say Monday through Friday. It doesn't say 9 to 5. And I know there's been plenty of times they've been out working late on emergency things like, a water main break or something. But is this not an emergency? And again, I think it was Russ Van Wormer, the radio guy, even said to me, like, dude, I've offered to teach them how to fill potholes multiple times in a way that they'll stay, but they don't want to listen. You got citizens offering to teach you guys how to do this so it'll stick a little longer. I mean, look, honestly, as the citizen, I would be happy if you could patch them and just make the patch stay. But that's the problem. You do such a shit job at patching things that they just completely fall apart in a day. Yeah. On top of, okay, so the $5 that the county wants, you also need to look, Travis, that the state wants to do the same. So is it going to be 10? And honestly, would I pay $5 a year per driver for our roads? Absolutely. I would. But do I trust that that's what they're going to use it for? They'll get their hands on that and they'll be doing everything but, just like they did with the ARPA money. Right? So no, they're not. And they do it all behind closed doors. I mean, again, I'm still waiting on 2024's budget from the city. People are asking me what my plan is for the city. Well, crap, I'm trying to figure this stuff out before I even get into office. I'm trying to read last year's budget and they won't even give it to me. Look at that. So as Joseph points out there, Elyria, Grafton, Lorain, North Ridgeville, Vermilion, and Wellington each collect at least 3% permissive taxes when residents of those municipalities renew their registrations. But well, because they don't use any of that money, Travis, for roads. They've stated that. Bradley stated that. None of our money, only money that we use that goes to roads is matching funds for grants from the different programs that we get, road grants to fix our roads. They don't have any money set aside for road repair. There isn't. It's just, it is what it is, folks. There's no money set aside to fix our roads. They went and bought this paver truck because they plan on redoing all this stuff. Now, my question would be, I'd like to know the qualifications of all the people down there at the streets department. Like, are any of these people, masters at their craft? Do we have people down there that can educate the younger people? Do they really know what they're doing? And then they went and bought the truck, but that doesn't, shit. I can go put on a plumber's, belt and say I'm a plumber, but doesn't make me a plumber, right? A lot of these kids are getting hired, right off the streets. At one point, Ray Carrion was the streets guy, I think. It's a springboard to other things in the city at times. But for us to sit back and be okay with the reality of these roads is not okay. Because I'm not okay. I'm totally pissed off about these roads. And it's significant. It's undeniable disconnect between our streets division's stated mission and its actual performance, right? When we drive to swerve around, potholes to avoid damaging our vehicles, or constantly worrying about the debris will damage our tires or our undercarriage, we're simply just not feeling safe. And it's not about aesthetics, through the appearance of our city, although that certainly matters. I noticed that, Moreau was talking about that, too many signs, aesthetics, what looks good on the eyes. I agree. But in Lorain, I can't worry about what signs look good on the eyes when I can't even look at the signs because I'm too busy looking at the road down, trying not to die in a crash. How am I going to pay attention to other drivers on the road? And it's everywhere, right? So we got money for assistant safety director. We got money for all these other things. We got money for pay raises. Maybe send some of that money for a training class on how to fill potholes. So, we have a city division specifically dedicated to maintaining our streets and keeping them safe. Then why are they demonstrably in such a state of disrepair? Where are the resources that are allocated for street maintenance actually going? And what are we as engaged citizens doing to hold our city government accountable for providing these basic and essential services? What? This issue, much like the serious allegations against McCann, underscores the urgent need for greater transparency and real accountability within the city government. Inflation did eat up budgets, and they were already behind on the roads, and that's the problem. But here's a thought, and I've said this since day one. They could have fixed the roads. The problem is nobody likes to think outside the box. ARPA funds allowed for sewer repairs. In some of the areas in Lorain, the sewer potholes are, 3 inches down. There are gutters that are, aprons and gutters that are lifted, and that actually dumps debris and forces water to form and puddles to form. So you got all these issues, right? If I'm being smart, I'm going to go, hey, guess what? Instead of giving illegally $3 million or whatever it was at the end of the year and letting Antonio Baez vote illegally on this ARPA fund usage for the city general fund payroll, so you could give yourself pay raises that you're still not willing to talk about. You could have put that into fixing the sewers. So imagine this, which they've been in our sewers a lot around here. But imagine if they went and said, hey, so the gutters equals the sewers. And so if we have to tear up the gutters, and we have to get to the sewers, we can go through the street. If we go through the street, we have to what? Replace the street. Ding, ding, ding. But hey, that would have been too easy, right? You'd rather just give that $2 million to assistant safety directors and whoever the hell else you can think to hire. high school diploma, friggin' Lori Kukowski, who literally has given me McCann's social security number, Middlebrooks' EEOC complaint, unredacted. That woman's a train wreck. She confronted me at the grocery store, yelled at me at the grocery store. Like, these people are out of control, man. And again, they're just mad because we're the citizens and I'm holding them accountable, and some of the other people are starting to hold them accountable. There's stories that are being put out there. And again, you have the Lorain Daily and you have Vermilion Daily that's putting out a different level of content. And, I get it. Some of you didn't even think they were real in the beginning and thought they were bots. These are two brothers. They're doing a great job out there, and one of them's in here tonight. But I would say you guys are reading too deeply into everything that you see all the time. On the little stuff and not reading deep enough on the big stuff, right? You want to make big deals out of tiny things and not really pay attention to these big issues that are right in front of our face, like infrastructure. So, I mean, hey, if the debris is going to damage our, and we're not feeling safe, and the appearance of our city does matter, and it is fundamentally about public safety. It's about accountability. So I just don't understand what is going on. The issue, like the serious allegations against McCann, so we've got, so we need to start asking tough questions, guys. We need to start ensuring that our hard-earned tax dollars are being spent and used effectively, and to provide the basic services that we deserve, right? Expect for, frankly, we pay for, The condition of our streets serves as a tangible and visible, very, very visible, right? Very visible, daily reminder of the very real challenges facing Lorain. It's a stark, unavoidable reminder that we as citizens need to be more vigilant, that we need to be better about holding our elected officials accountable and these city departments. I mean, tomorrow morning, Monday morning, you guys going to get up and drive to work and fling rocks all over the place? Hope to God that a rock doesn't fly up and kill you if you're riding a motorcycle. Hope that a car doesn't spin out and fling that rock up into your windshield. Or hope a car doesn't fling a boulder-sized rock at your head on a bike because that's your only method of transportation right now or something. I don't know. Guys, I'm just tired of the constant, everybody's always like, oh, hey, it's your approach. It's the way you say things. It's, you're a hammer, you're a chainsaw, you're a bat. You need a surgical scalpel. No, you don't, man. Look, guys, I'm going to tell you this much. Go watch Casino. Okay? Joe Pesci. I mean, again, sometimes it requires that you knock a head or two. And then when you get out of jail, come back and knock that head again. But it's like, no. When I was being a scalpel, I got scalped right out of my job. Right? It wasn't until I became the wrecking ball, the crashing car through the wall, the hammer, the club, the chainsaw, whatever you want to call me. It wasn't until then that anyone listened. No, what did they do? They forced me out of public buildings, laid hands on me, threatened to removed me from public buildings under threat of arrest. So 2 different bailiffs in the county building removed me under threat of arrest for doing nothing wrong. Lieutenant Swanger, who's now our dog catcher, put hands on me and lied in a Garrity interview, violating his 1983 oath. Chief McCann, enough said. So, guys, you want to keep doing this? It's on you. If that's what you're looking for. So, anyway, with all this in mind and knowing the weight of these issues pressing on our community, I do want to announce an event that we can talk about. And so coming up, there's going to be a candidates night. The NAACP branch will be doing a candidates night. It'll be in the Harrison Cultural Community Center at Hamilton Avenue. The doors are going to open at 4:30. I'm going to be there from 5 to 8. I'm an RSVP. This was sent to me by Earl Head, the president of the Lorain branch of the NAACP. And so on Saturday, April 5th, 2025, from 5 to 8 at the Harrison Cultural Community Center, there will be a candidates night. It'll be a gathering. It's not a debate, but it's an opportunity for the candidates running for office in the city of Lorain to connect with the residents of Lorain, answer questions, and present their platforms. Each candidate is given 5 minutes for an opening statement, present their platforms, and answer questions. To that end, we are eager for your participation, as it is crucial for our constituents to understand your perspectives on issues affecting the community should you be elected. Please plan to RSVP. Okay, so I mean, again, guys, like, this will be an announcement being put out, I'm sure, soon by people, and we can, you guys show up and question your candidates, all of them. I was at the getting my haircut today. I was talking about that with people, like, they're like, well, when, she was like, well, when's your, Kayla was like, when's your run? And I was like, well, everyone else right now is running for the May election, right? Every election is decided this election is decided in May, because, as someone pointed out in the Lorain Forum, they're mostly Democrats. So whoever wins, right? Moves forward to the next round. Well, the next round, if there's no Republicans running against him, they've already won. The only one that has the next round is Mr. Arroyo and me, because I'm the only Republican councilman running. So my race doesn't start till November, but theirs starts now. Well, I rephrase that. My race ends in November. Theirs ends in May, technically. They don't have to do any more campaigning. So they're in the midst of their campaign season, and I haven't even started mine yet. So if you want to voice and share your concerns, come out that night. Check it out. It's going to be a crucial opportunity for us to come together, share, your experiences directly with one another, ask pointing questions of our city representatives, and collaboratively discuss the future of our community. And, I think that it's a good idea. So, and in the end of that, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just to say this out loud, no, Josephine, I'm sorry if I scooped you on this one. I wasn't sure if you guys were going to run this one or not, but I saw it. And since it mentioned me a lot, I decided to go with it. He sent me like this one on like Vermilion and crap, but I'm not putting that on my county page because I don't really cover Vermilion. And then he sent me one on Baez and some stuff, and I'm not going to cover that one either because it's a little more personal than I care to. But he sent me this one, and I really felt like the McCann one, because I've covered the Mercy Health story so religiously. And I kick off my campaign in January. Well, I don't know. I never found out if it was Riley or not. They haven't answered my records request on who was on the hot mic. And so when Frank dude ended his editorial, he was like, demanding a full impartial investigation into the allegations against McCann, accountability for those who have abused their power, and ultimately the removal of McCann from his position. He argued, and I wholeheartedly have to agree with him, that this is fundamentally about the soul of our city and reclaiming justice and restoring trust. So, we can continue to let this crap happen, or we can stand up and say, no, enough is enough. Like, I'm not saying all police are bad, right? I literally helped get a sheriff elected. Like, regardless of what people may think, after that whole little thing that went down, like, I still am a firm supporter and believer in Jack Hall, and will continue to do so. But, and I support Lorain Police to an extent, right? Like, I've had conversations with Morris of what I would do if I were on council and working with the police commission, how I would work on getting, a lease system set up to make sure, maybe work with the other counties or cities and county to get a lease system set up for a lend lease program for the vehicles. And fixing the streets really saves us the money on the cars. We just dropped $800,000 a while back on the cars. And again, yes, 100,000 miles, give or take, is what's from what I understand on a cop car is about as much as you want. But imagine the money we would save on the repairs on these cop cars for the tires, the suspension, the pinion rods, all this, and our other city vehicles if we just fix these streets. I mean, just fix the streets, guys. Like, let's put all of our effort And I mean, again, when I was talking to the person today about South Side, and they're like, well, you advocate for South Side. I'm like, yeah, we're the gateway to Lorain. Say what you want. You can drive all the way down to the Amherst exit, right? But people coming into Lorain, if you're going down that way, like you're getting off at that Lorain Elyria exit on South Side. There's nothing out there. We don't take advantage of anything out there to draw people off the roadway. Then, you just keep going. And then you're into Lorain proper. And then that's where you start seeing these potholes. That's what people see. Why would I want to come to this city? I want to leave it. When I get on my motorcycle, I want to drive somewhere else. I'd rather drive to Vermilion on my motorcycle. I'd rather go to these nice, quaint little lake towns than drive around this city. Right? Oh, I know, right? Like the pothole plants. But we can't keep doing this, guys. Like, we can't keep dodging potholes, and they can't keep dodging us. So again, that's why I'm running for office. No, I'm not trying to hide behind anything else. Like, yeah, you know what? It probably would be. Take bids, privatized. I agree. I honestly believe our street department should be privatized at this point. So, because it's ridiculous. We're paying all this money for what? Nothing. I'm not going to get up there and in council and be like, and I'd just like to really say that Lori Garcia and the streets department are doing a wonderful job. Dude, you guys came out, didn't even bother to shovel up the rocks. You were trying to cover your butts, and you left rocks on the street. That's a violation of your oath on your own page. So yeah, whatever. So in closing, let's remember that the stark contrast to what we've discussed today, Kenneth Gorbey's life, a beacon of selfless service, integrity, and a dedication to community against the deeply troubling and disgusting allegations of abuse of power and the betrayal of the public trust leveled against Chief McCann. More broadly, the systematic issues impacting our city streets like maintenance. Kenneth Gorbey's life reminds us of the immense potential for good within our community, the transformative power of service, and understanding that, like realizing what true leadership really looks like. It looks like men like Kenneth Gorbey, who sacrificed everything to go to war and then came home and then still was an amazing, productive member of the community. If I recall correctly, he in there, he was either cement or was a construction company. And I'm like, he could have fixed our streets. I bet you Gorbey would have fixed the streets. But I mean, he was what we should all strive to be, right? He's the example of oh my God, right? Yeah, I've heard of that too. But I don't know that would work, because I complained in the city of Lorain about racist words being written on the streets over there by Homewood, or by not Homewood Park, but by yeah, I think it is Homewood Park. And my daughter goes over there to play, and on the street, someone wrote the N word and called it Ville, and then spray painted that in black spray paint on the streets. And for an entire year, I reported it until they finally, I think, removed it. I had to report for over a year the backstops and stuff in the Homewood Park before they came out and fixed that. I mean, again, people tend to forget I haven't just been at this for the streets. I got Homewood Park fixed. I got a bunch of stuff worked on, and the Parks Department came out and responded to that too. It's been a plethora of things. All of these things are what has to take place. Oh, I know, that flat earth thing too. Seriously, don't even get me started. You flathead, right? Whoever's doing that who thinks flat earth is real, like, stop. Let's launch them into space and let them look down at the big blue orb, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, stop with the stupid flat earth crap. No one cares. No one cares, okay? Like, and so, yeah, we got the graffiti and stuff but those are easy fixes, right? Graffiti is an easy fix. And I'd rather look at flat earth than, crash my car than have my front end ruined. I moved to Lorain because the house was cheaper and I was going to be closer to my girlfriend in Avon Lake. We're not together anymore, but I have the property. I like my street. I like my neighborhood. I like my people on South Side. I like the people that are around me. I love my neighbors. We've got some new neighbors I haven't got to fully meet yet that have kids, and I'm seeing more kids on my block and my street, and I'm raising a kid on my street. And when I first moved here, there was hardly any. Now here I am 5 years later, and there's just little kids all over the place running around the street, riding their bikes. Yeah, I want my streets fixed. I want my sidewalks maintained. I want safety for my kids. I want a safe place for my kids to play. I want a police force that isn't going to come arrest my kid for walking across the street and call her jaywalking. Is that too much to ask? I guess. But in the grand scheme of things, we weigh that against, what's happened. Kenneth Gorbey's life does remind us of the immense potential for good in our community, and we need to be more like him. We as citizens have a responsibility to honor his legacy. And by holding our leaders accountable and demanding the same values that Kenneth embodied, integrity, service, a deep commitment to well-being of our community, we must work together with courage and determination to restore trust in our city and to ensure that Lorain is once again a place where justice and ethical conduct not only prevails, but it's the very foundation upon which our community is built. That's it, right? It's a kingdom of conscience or nothing at all, folks. So thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being engaged. Please continue to stay informed, actively participate in addressing these critical issues. We must never forget those that served us well, like Kenneth Gorbey. We must always demand better from those who are currently serving in positions of public trust. This is Aaron Knapp. We are here, Lorain Politics Unplugged. I'll see you guys next time in our next episode, episode 8. Thank you for tuning in tonight to episode 7. And law enforcement, you be lawful, not awful. Thanks, guys, and make it a wonderful night.